Democrats do with someone like Elon Musk, given how powerful he is? They keep trying to push him off to the sidelines, given how erratic he is, given his, there's been a lot over the past year. Or do they try to recruit him back into the fold? Because, again, that money, with our campaign finance laws, which I think are broken and should be amended, that money really matters.
Yes, Katie Turd on MS-13, DNC. They're a propaganda outlet, the kind of propaganda outlet that the Soviet Union could only dream of. But the Democrat Party, they've stood it up here, the left in the United States of America. They've corrupted the news media, corrupted academia. Let's face it, they're corrupt. And a very, very good Friday to you all. Welcome back. We may be reached at 888-630-9625. And we've been hearing all about the Donald Trump-Elon Musk tete-a-tete, the back and forth. And I want to share that with you and go through the timeline on that. Pretty interesting stuff, I've got to say. Man, oh man. There's a lot of other stuff going on, too. But the Washington Times, your newspaper of record in our nation's capital, the Washington Times, their front page above the fold is Musk goes nuclear in feud with president. Connects Trump to Epstein files. Going nuclear, getting dirty. Politics, it's a terrible business. Awful business, and I will get into that with you. And I will get into that for you. The beef between Elon Musk and President Trump reached new heights Thursday as their public spat over the One Big Beautiful Bill Act turned personal. Chuck Schumer calls it the We're All Going to Die Act. Everybody's going to die. And then they clubbed children to death until the sun went down because they're the Democrats, after all. Now, because the Washington Times is your newspaper of record, they cover the stories that the weasel media, of course, hides from the public because the weasel media is staffed by who? By what? Well, by weasels, of course, by sharp-toothed weasels. They sharpen their teeth with metal files. They're not on the side of the truth. They're just Democrats pretending to be journalists. But the lead story, the near-banner headline in the Washington Times today, Biden's team sent migrant children to abusers. Biden's team sent children to abusers. Well, we've been wondering what happened to those hundreds of thousands of children, and we know that the Democrat Party is obsessed with sexualizing children, only in the LGBTQ vein, though, not in the H vein, which would be heterosexual. They're very anti-heterosexual. They lost a case in the Supreme Court about that yesterday, the Democrats did. They're hostile to white people and to males and to straight people. They're abnormal, I think, abnormal. Don't steal their brains from the laboratory. But there. Biden's team sent migrant children to abusers, sponsors who got girls pregnant among disturbing cases, because the Democrats, they're doing child sex trafficking. Joe Biden, I talked about this at the time, that Joe Biden was the lead child sex trafficker probably on the planet Earth during his time as president, and certainly the number one human trafficker, because all the other human trafficking outlets, the cartels and the gangs from Mexico to Venezuela, they were funneling into one primary receiver, and that was Joe Biden and the Democrats for the human trafficking, and of course for the child sex trafficking, and of course they LGBTQ sexualize all children down to kindergarten when they can, and they can do that quite often. But the Washington Times story, the Biden administration placed some illegal immigrant children with sponsors who got them pregnant, the Homeland Security Department said on Thursday. In other cases, minors who showed up at the border without parents were sent to live with adults who possessed child pornography, had serious criminal records, or forced the children into labor. So you got child forced labor, that's slavery, child sex, impregnating them. And this is not going to be in the New York Times. It's not going to be in the Washington Post. It won't be on CNN because they're not legitimate news organizations. They're Democrat Party front groups, left-wing front groups, posing as news organizations, but they're frauds and liars. Don't trust them with your children. And if one of these people wants to marry your daughter, see what you can do to prevent that, because they're not on your side. Hundreds of thousands of these unaccompanied alien children surged into the United States as part of the Biden border breakdown. The administration struggled to process them. Facing overcrowded and dangerous conditions, it cut corners, the Biden administration did, to push the children out of detention as quickly as possible, leaving some in unsafe placements, the government now says. And that's, with the Democrat Party, this is exactly what I'd expect. And watch the media not care. We're watching them not care right now. As I'm saying this, the Washington Times has the story. Front page, above the fold, banner headline. They've got the story. The Democrat media will bury this along with the children that they killed. Children, and this is an important development too, children's safety and security is non-negotiable, said Laszlo Bakse, a spokesperson, the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement people. The previous administration's failure to implement meaningful safeguards has allowed vulnerable kids to fall into the hands of criminals. Homeland Security Investigations, HSI, you see the jackets all over the place, a division of ICE. We got to have an acronym and an abbreviation for everything. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, because it's the government. We all have to be owned by the government, and their lexicon must apply. So Homeland Security Investigation, the HSI division of ICE, ICE, has spent the past few months trying to check up on the children. Thursday's findings grew out of that effort. Some of the children were living in what ICE described as neglect. Others were the sponsors who had criminal records that included assault, drug trafficking, prostitution, and attempted murder. Democrats, they're placing them with Democrats. In what the agency called the most disturbing cases, girls were pregnant with children fathered by their alleged sponsors. Unaccompanied alien children have long been among the toughest immigration cases, creating difficulties for all involved. All right, and that is, that's not the 60 Minutes version, but 60 Minutes is not going to do the 60 Minutes version this Sunday because that wouldn't be good news for the Democratic Party. So they're not going to do that. Isn't that amazing? Now, here's another important story that the news media is not going to report on. Very, very important story. Because the Democrats love crime. They love murder. They love violence. They love mob violence. And that's the mob violence is violence for cowards, right? Because they've convinced teenage girls all across America to chant, "Kill all the Jews, wipe Israel off the map," and they chant in unison. And they've got teenage girls. They brainwashed them and indoctrinated them, and probably sexually abused them much of the time too. Although that would involve heterosexuality, so tough call. But here's another story above the fold today, front page, Washington Times. Trump says he turned the tide on crime wave. U.S. homicide rate falls to record low. I'm sorry, what? What is this? The U.S. homicide rate has fallen to a record low? Does that have anything to do with securing our border and deporting illegal alien gang members and all that good stuff? Just amazing. The story in the Washington Times. President Trump is taking credit for the lowest homicide rate ever recorded. I'm sorry, what? How can that even be? President Trump is taking credit for the lowest homicide rate ever recorded in America, and some criminologists say his tough-on-crime talk may be a reason violent crime has dropped by double digits. Mr. Trump met Thursday with members of the Fraternal Order of Police, the nation's largest police union, to declare that his policies were responsible for the crime drop. He said increased deportations of illegal immigrants, restoring the federal death penalty, and boosting federal funding for police have restored law and order in America. The Democrats are, of course, the party of defunding the police, of vilifying the police, demonizing the police, of doxing the police to threaten their lives and the lives of their families. We had Hakeem Jeffries doing that, the Democrat leader in the House of Representatives, just a couple of days ago. Hakeem Jeffries, who's a racist and raised and mentored by a virulent anti-Semite, his uncle, Professor Leonard Jeffries. But Hakeem Jeffries was threatening to dox ICE agents and federal law enforcement because he said they can't wear masks, like Democrats do at riots. There are many, many riots, usually anti-Semite riots these days, usually anti-police riots, too, where they were in. We played the audio yesterday of them in Minneapolis, violent mob of Democrats attacking the police because they said there was an ICE raid going on in their neighborhood. And because they're pro-Mexican drug cartels, they want more bodies hanging upside down under bridges in the United States of America, too. They attacked the police in Minnesota violently.
They took them.
And it turned out it was not an ICE raid. It was a drug raid and a money laundering raid by federal law enforcement. But a mob of Democrats just happened to be nearby, and they violently attacked the police. They should get rifle butts to the teeth. They should get leg shackles. They should go to Gitmo. We should send them to that prison in El Salvador. We should name it after one of them as an homage to honor them. The Democrat Party is the party of crime. The Democrat Party is the party of violence, of mob violence, of political violence, of shooting Donald Trump and shooting Steve Scalise, of firebombing Governor Josh Shapiro's home, his governor's mansion in Pennsylvania. That's the Democrat Party, of firebombing Teslas, of terrorizing Tesla drivers on the road. But President Trump now saying, and they're the party of defunding the police, vilifying and demonizing. So President Trump yesterday said, I don't think anybody has been more for the police than I am. In recent years, far-left radicals have vilified and targeted our nation's police with Marxist prosecutors and soft-on-crime politicians. True and true, check and check. I fact-checked that. Making it impossible for you to do your jobs and to do them the way you want, he said of the police across America. Under the Trump administration, those days are over because President Trump is having none of it. And this came up at the White House press briefing yesterday with White House press spokeswoman, not Cringe, but the wonderful Caroline Leavitt.
Law and order is back in America under President Trump. And on that same note, there are new crime statistics that show crime is plummeting. In fact, Politico summed it up like this. Murder rates are tumbling across the U.S. in 2025. Homicide stats are down at least 20% over last year, and we could be on course for the lowest number on record. With President Trump in charge, the days of criminals being put over victims are over.
Honestly, and the homicide rates are actually down 21.5% through April of the first 4 months compared to the first 4 months of last year. That's kind of huge. And our news media will never mention it because they are that dishonest and that corrupt. How corrupt are they? Oh, they'll never mention that. That's how corrupt they are. You know, BOGO is back. BOGO, buy one, get one for 1 week only with the Eden Pure Thunderstorm 3 air purifier, the third version. The new Eden Pure Thunderstorm uses two technologies that help to kill up to 99.9% of bacteria and viruses floating in the air, viruses you might breathe in. The Thunderstorm helps remove dust and pet stuff and smoke and a whole lot more from the air that you breathe, and it gets rid of any odor at the same time. No filters to buy and replace again and again, which is real nice. The thunderstorm will help get rid of any stinky smell, guaranteed. I'm talking trash cans, cigarette smoke, smelly shoes, musty basements, left-wing protesters. No match for the Eden Pure thunderstorm, and smells will disappear after just a few seconds. Right now, you buy one thunderstorm, you get one for free. You buy two, you get two for free. No matter how many you buy, you see, you get an equal number for free. You can put one in your basement, your bedroom, your teenager's room, give one as a gift, bring one to the office, clean, fresh air. You know, that's good stuff. All you have to do is go to EdenPureDeals.com, EdenPureDeals.com. Use the discount code ChrisBogo, ChrisBogo. That's buy one, get one. That's EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is ChrisBogo. Yes, sir. Yeah, so what is President Trump doing? Boy, homicide is dropping like a rock. Crime-free days are skyrocketing. Now, I'm going to ask again, the Democrats, please stop shooting people and firebombing things. Stop being Nazi-like anti-Semites. Hamas are not the good guys. Just saying. We're at 888-630-9625. Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at WashingtonTimes.com/Chris. And I'm going to get back to President Trump and Elon Musk and all the back and forth and the Epstein moment. And today going to play the audio of my father, Navy fighter pilot, World War II, because today is D-Day. It's the anniversary of the invasion of Normandy. And as an homage, I look forward to getting to that. Right now, let's go to the telephones. Let's go to Pete, calling from the great state of South Carolina. Peter, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Chris, how you doing this morning?
I'm great, Pete. Thank you.
Hey, man, I wanted to follow up on the guy that said something about the feud between Elon and Trump last hour.
You bet.
I'm thinking it's more than that.
Uh-huh.
You know, it had been shown that Elon was kind of he was poison to the Republican Party when it came to the polls. And, man, oh, man, there's nothing better than a real public divorce and a real public thing to get people away from it. I think it's to help midterms next year.
To help midterms for the Republicans or?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Because the polls are showing that Elon was poison to the Republicans. And we got to keep that House. We got to keep that Senate. And with a real public divorce like this, with them feuding, I'm thinking that, well, it's going to be it's a staged thing, and it's really smart. They're both real smart dudes. There's no better way to divorce yourself than in public like that.
Very interesting. And to keep the Democrats away from the House of Representatives, very interesting. We'll tuck that away. Today is the 6th of June, often referred to as D-Day. You know what the D stood for in day when they said that, you know, the invasion of Europe, the liberation of Europe from the Socialist Workers' Party of Adolf Hitler, the German Socialist Workers' Party. The D, you know what the D stood for? Do you know what the D stood for? You know. It stood for day. Seems redundant, doesn't it? But it was the government. It was still the government at the time. D stands for day. And then when it was time to go and the balloon is going up, that was called H-hour. H-hour. You probably figured this out. You know what the H stood for? The H stood for hour. It was H-hour, it was D-day. The H is for hour, the D is for day. But here it comes, the invasion of Normandy to liberate Europe from the Socialist Workers' Party of Adolf Hitler. And yesterday, interestingly enough, the German Chancellor, Fred Merz, and his wife Ethel were at the White House. And his wife Ethel was not at the White House. But it's a Friedrich Merz. Friedrich Merz is the Chancellor. I still think they should change the title in Germany to prime minister or something instead of chancellor, because Hitler's title was chancellor, and you should probably change it after that. Let's not have chancellors anymore. Let's just have prime ministers. Okay. But his name is Friedrich Merz. In America, he'd just be Fred Mertz. And he'd be on a late-night sitcom from long ago. But that's not important. So yesterday, President Donald Trump, President of the United States, at the White House, Oval Office, with German Chancellor Friedrich Merz. And Trump said, oh, yeah, and they're going back and forth. Oh, yeah, by the way, tomorrow is D-Day, you know, the invasion of Normandy, where you guys were up on the cliffs with machine guns mowing our guys down because you're a Socialist Workers' Party, a gang of genocidal murderers, kind of like today's Democrats. Oh, yeah, by the way, I'm talking about the crime rate and the murder rate in the United States plummeting under President Trump. Also, a story on the front page of the Washington Times, your newspaper of record in Washington. Baltimore violence drops with tough new approach. What? What is this? The Baltimore State's Attorney Ivan Bates is making good on his promise to put the city's most hardened criminals behind bars. They're all Democrats. Turns out they're all Democrats. And the Democrats want them loose to commit more crimes because, you know, the subheadline is here, juvenile crime persists as city problem. I've been saying all along, what have I been saying, Michael? The problem is not our guns, it's your sons. Stop raising criminals, and we'll stop arresting them and putting them in prison. Democrats, I'm talking to the Democrats here. That's for sure. All right, now let me get back to President Trump because they're talking about the Socialist Workers Party and D-Day having to drive the Socialist workers off of the cliff tops at, Omaha Beach. And that's where I got my sand, my vial of sand that I have at home from Omaha Beach, Normandy. My second visit, I got a small shell, and I put it on top of the... Maybe we should post that, my Omaha Beach sand and my shell for the second award, second visit. But here's President Trump yesterday with the Deutschland Chancellor Friedrich Merz. And you'll never guess that the invasion of Normandy came up, and President Trump made a little bit of a funny.
May I remind you that we are having June 6th tomorrow. This is D-Day anniversary, when the Americans once ended a war in Europe. And I think this is in your hand in specific, in ours.
That was not a pleasant day for you?
No, that was not a pleasant day. Well,
not a great
in
day.
the long run, Mr. President, this was the liberation of my country from Nazi dictatorship.
That's true. That's true.
And we know what we owe you.
Yeah, well, pay up. Let's talk about what you owe. Because, my father went over there to fight the Nazis. My father, Jules Orteig Jr. I was Christopher Orteig until I was 5 years old. My father died when I was very young. My mother remarried when I was 5 years old. And our stepfather legally adopted the four of us, the four boys left behind by my father when he died of a heart attack at the age of 38. And Jules Orteig, U.S. Navy fighter pilot, flew Hellcats off of aircraft carriers and killed Nazis, and then moved on to the Pacific and killed Japanese because, while they're very nice people right now, they weren't nice at all in the 1940s. Not nice at all. But there it is with the, thank you for defeating the Nazis, because we were very happy that the dictatorship was gone. And after my father died, we moved in with my grandfather, my mother's father, and he was a World War I veteran. He had to go to Germany to kill Germans in the First World War. Then my father had to go to kill Germans in the Second World War. You guys, and now the Democrats, they only want to have white people as their enemies because they're such racists. They wish that Germany would act up again. Those people. But this is what I like to do once a year. I have a recording that was done of my father doing an interview with Armed Forces Radio aboard his aircraft carrier in the ready room. He had just come back from a mission, flying a mission, dropping a bomb or two on Germans in France, in the south of France. And when he came back aboard the aircraft carrier, went into the ready room, and there's a man with Armed Forces radio, waved him over, share a cigarette, have a little talk about what's going on. And I like to share this audio because it's amazing, and not just because it's my father. If it had been any other World War II veteran, it speaks to that generation, the greatest generation, and how well-spoken they are, for one thing. I admire how deft they are with the English language, my father and the interviewer. Very nice. And these are the kinds of interviews they did down in the field of battle, and then they'd send them back to your local radio station, and they'd play these interviews on your local radio station. My father's local radio station was New York City, and I actually have the record album that this was recorded on. It's called a transcription. It's on cardboard. It's a 78 RPM record, and you set the needle in the middle of the record, and it plays out toward the edge instead of putting it on the edge of the record album, and it plays toward the center, as would be normal. But it's kind of, and I still have the record album at home. In fact, I have 2 copies of it. And here is, because it's D-Day +1, the interview, but I can't play it tomorrow. It's Saturday. I would normally play it on D-Day +1. But my father, Jules Orteig Jr., being interviewed aboard his aircraft carrier, the Tulagi is the name of the aircraft carrier. It's a secret at the time of the interview. An escort carrier, a smaller aircraft carrier, making it harder to land on and take off from. Just back from dropping bombs on Germans who had conquered France.
This is D-Day +1. We're in the ready room of an American aircraft carrier cruising in the Mediterranean. The pilots who use this room have been on many missions over southern France during the past 2 days. And just a few minutes ago, a group of pilots returned from a fighter bombing mission. When the excitement died down a little bit, one of them came over and sat down beside me. And if you'd have been here, this is what you'd have heard.
Say, Lieutenant, have you got a cigarette?
Yeah, but as usual, I haven't got a match.
Oh, I have a match, thanks.
Mind giving me a light?
No, here.
Thank you very much. Boy, you look kind of wet.
I really sweat that one out.
Say, you mean that's all just sweat? Doesn't look like you've been dumped in the ocean or something.
No, well, I was a bit warm there for a minute. What kind of a gadget is that?
Well, that's a recording machine that I have that puts voice on wire. Say, how'd you like to make a record for me to send back home?
Sure, but what'll I say?
Well, just talk, you know. Look, I'll tell you what. I'll ask you questions, you give me the answers, right? For example, what kind of a plane were you flying on your mission today?
I was flying the Grumman F6F, the Hellcat.
F what?
The F6F, the Hellcat.
Oh, yeah, well, I never do know what those letters mean. That's a Grumman Hellcat, and a Hellcat it is, too, from the look of it. Say, how'd your mission turn out today?
Pretty good. We were supposed to bomb some gun installations on the coast, and we didn't have very much difficulty. 4 of us went out. I saw the first 3 bombs hit, and I don't know where mine went. But I hope it came close anyhow.
It's pretty difficult to see your own, but you can see the other men's, can't you?
Yeah, when you're... Well, there's a little flak there. I was kind of watching out for that.
Any of you get hit?
No one got hit, very luckily.
Was the flak very heavy?
Well, it was the first flak I'd ever seen, so it looked pretty heavy to me.
I know what you mean. Well, say, I beg your pardon. My name's Sutter. What's yours?
My name's Jules Orteig, O-R-T-E-I-G.
What is that, French?
Yes, after fashion.
After a fashion.
By the way, where do you live?
I live in Pelham Manor. It's a suburb of New York City.
Let's see, that's right near New Rochelle, isn't it?
Yeah, have you ever been there?
Yeah, I think so. I was there once. I think I drove through it. By the way, Jules, most of the boys have told me that they haven't seen any enemy planes over there. Did you see any?
No, we didn't see any. We were looking around, but we couldn't find any. I think they're hiding.
Well, so you've been on, let's see, you had 2 missions yesterday, is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Do you suppose you'll go on another one today?
Well, I hope so.
Well, anyway, I hope you'll find Jerry this time. But if you don't, well, I'll be just as happy. I don't know how you'll feel.
Well, I'd just as soon run into a few Jerrys, but fighter bomber mission supplies plenty of excitement.
All right, well, good hunting, Jules, and good luck. This record was made in the Mediterranean Theater of Operations.
I love the way they speak. They speak English very comfortably, very well. They use the English language. I think it had to do with public schools at the time, education at the time, respect for language and for each other. Quite remarkable. The Greatest Generation, and I'd love to know who the interviewer was. I wonder if anybody out there knows, hey, that's my grandfather. That he was Armed Forces radio in the Mediterranean in World War II. Great stuff. But I like to think pretty typical of what American men were like at the time, and what our culture was like at the time. And I tell you what we're going to do. I shared a couple of items today, and we have that recording now with photos. I have a good collection of photographs of my father from the war, and Michael Piercy and I put together a video. It's kind of a slideshow and a video of the recording that you just listened to, the interview, and the photographs that I have had, family photos, and put them together to represent all the great American men and a small number of women, but, women, whacks and waves and all that good stuff that served in World War II. And today being D-Day, the 6th of June, the invasion of Normandy in France, the greatest, largest amphibious invasion in the history of the world, to push the Socialist Workers' Party out of that part of France and to eventually bring an end to the Socialist Workers' rule of Western Europe, which they had invaded. The Soviet Union was pushing in from the east, and they killed as many of their own people as they did Germans. They killed everybody because they're commies. You know how they are. Man, oh man. All right, so we have that going for us, and that's a wonderful thing. And now we're going to post that, right, Michael? The recording with the photographs on various social media platforms. Am I right? Should we grab a quick phone call? Perhaps. Let's go to Will calling from Skokie, Illinois, just north of Chicago, Illinois. Will, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Chris, thanks for playing that. The thing that's interesting is, we have news today that's so edited and produced where you listen to this, it's just a guy gets back from a mission and he goes, hey, you got a cigarette? Yeah, okay, I don't have any. Well, I don't got the matches. And they would have just edited that out. Your father sounds so natural. Your father sounds so, hey, I was sweating my butt off, of course I'm, and the reporter, while acting kind of clueless, he's basically doing that to draw out the natural effect, the natural responses from your father. I'm very proud. I've got a daughter and a son-in-law who are both naval officers. They both went to the academy. They're still both serving.
Wow.
These guys are the greatest, the guys who put their, as they say, they put their tender bodies between their families and the enemy. And God bless them all. Thank you.
And God bless. Hey, thank you. That's great. Well, wonderful stuff. It really is. And God bless you. Your daughter, Naval Academy, son-in-law, Naval Academy, both currently naval officers in the United States Navy. How wonderful is that? That is outstanding. Well, thank you for that nice call. It is. I think it's an homage to a generation of Americans and to American military people everywhere. And you're right about the interview technique of the interviewer. I agree with that completely as well. Since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, overall abortions have actually increased in the United States since then. Last year, increasing by 1%, just last year alone. That translates to what's been reported as 1,038,000, 100 unborn babies being snuffed out. Every one of these lives was precious, naturally. Preborn, the great people at Preborn and their network of clinics across the country, strategically located in the country's highest abortion areas. And they're ready to provide help and support to women making that decision about their babies' futures. Now, through compassionate, loving care and free ultrasounds, free to the mothers, Preborn helps women connect with the life growing inside of them. And once the mother hears the heartbeat and sees the baby moving about, the baby's chance of living a long, happy life actually doubles. Last year alone, Preborn rescued more than 67,000 helpless, innocent babies. That's a stadium full. Please consider getting involved. Your monthly support of $28 makes this mission possible. Human life is sacred, of course, and human life is eternal. To donate, all you have to do is dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby when prompted. That's pound 250, the keyword is baby. Or go to Al Gore's Amazing Internet to preborn.com/plant. That's preborn.com/PLANTE. Yeah. Yeah, and when the interviewer asks, Orteig, what is that French? He sort of laughs and says, after a fashion, it's Basque. The Pyrenees Mountains, the border between Spain and France. A Basque family. All right, let us grab a quick phone call. We've got smart people all over the place. Let's go to Ed, calling from Southern Maryland. Eduardo, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Chris.
Hey,
listen to you all the time. I love your show on D-Day. My dad flew Hellcats off USS Ticonderoga.
Cool.
And he dunked it one time. He loved. This was kind of the only story he told. He dunked it, went down. The attrition rate, as you know, was tough. So they didn't stick around for you.
Yeah.
And
I'm running out of time on you. I want to warn you.
Okay. Well, long story short, he got Distinguished Flying Cross later on, and flew in the Pacific.
What a great lineage! You should be very proud.